Uncle Tien, we're here to chat with you.
Oh? What a lovely surprise. Welcome. Hoishi, why don't you go down? I heard that you've been traveling all over the place recently. I would very much like to hear your adventure stories. Hoishin told you, didn't she? Don't worry, I'm quite all right. It's just the years gradually catching up with me. As I grow older, I'm starting to find that with many things, though I am still very much in good standing as the Tianshu today. Nevertheless, I wish to pass on the position before my mental acuity begins.
How difficult?
Oh, well, historically speaking, the Tianshu rarely appears in public. We also want to keep any prospective Tianshu candidates free from influence by outside forces, so we tend to be as discreet as possible in their assessment and appointment. For these reasons, the incumbent Tianshu typically recommends their candidate of choice, and this is then approved by the other Qixing members.
So in other words, you pick someone, and then Lady Keqing, Lady Ningguang, and the other Qixing appoint them?
Correct. Unfortunately, do not to despair, however, because I found someone exceptionally capable to act on my behalf.
Oh? Who is it?
I'm heartbroken. I thought it might take you a little longer than this to forget all.
It's Yeon!
Jackpot. Uncle Tien here asked me to assess 3 candidates for him. Fancy joining me? You'll be among the first to get to know the next Tianshu. Might be a good opportunity for you.
What do you think? Paimon thinks so too. It can't be a bad thing to be on good terms with a new Qixing, right?
All right then. Though, I gotta say, Uncle Tien, you say you're into behind-the-scenes planning? My work's of the covert variety too. Don't you think,
Huh? Yeah?
I'm not opposed to the idea, but I suspect Ningguang wouldn't let you go very easily after how long you've been working together. So, how about this? If your investigation reveals that...
Deal. Well, you guys take your time. Everything's all set for the assessments to go ahead. Meet me on the first floor when you're ready. Until then, have a pleasant conversation. Oh, and no need to pay for your tea. As the new owner of this fine establishment, this runs on the house. You're all set?
Uncle Tian seems really worn down.
Yeah, it may sound harsh, but Uncle Tian is past his prime. He's recommended 3 candidates. Their names are Qinwei, Mingbo, and Zhi. Qinwei is a wealthy entrepreneur. Mingbo works at the Liyue Ministry of Civil Affairs, and Zhi is focused on study and travel. Try to keep all that in mind. Of course, it doesn't really matter if you forget.
Qianwei? Mingbo?
Let's leave that until... All right. Heads in the game, people. The stakes don't get much higher than a change in the Qixing. We can't afford to miss anything, no matter how small.
Got it. We'll keep our eyes wide open.
My legs are getting sore. What is wrong with this assessment officer? This is a huge occasion. I've dealt with all kinds of people in my time, but never... That's called being complacent. If you're happy to just accept the...
Oh, come on.
All right, you two. Let Qianwei, that was a bit uncalled for. And Mingbo, cut. Look, how about this? There's no rule saying we're obliged to...
Fine. They're not the best quality chairs, to be sure. But under the
It looks like all 3 candidates have arrived. We'll meet them formally soon. Before that, let me run you through the assessment process. I've split it into 2 stages: current affairs and planning. In the first stage, candidates are required to submit a manifesto for Liyue's development. Writing a manifesto takes time, so I informed them of this requirement in advance. These are the reports they submitted.
Wow. One of them is really thick.
It's also worth mentioning a stipulation I gave them. Whoever is appointed as the new Tianshu will, failing the occurrence of some cataclysmic event, they will not be permitted to change their plan. Therefore, there's still some time. Have a skim through, get a first impression of what each person's proposing. I'll be waiting off to the side. Just... Finished, huh? What did you think?
Everyone took it very...
Of course they did. They have the chance to be picked, and keep in mind, whoever gets in has to execute their plan at... That's for me to... We'll see the candidates now. Let's do...
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, so you two are the... I had assumed that given the great import of this situation, Lady Ningguang, I trust you've read through my manifesto? I'd be more than happy to clarify...
Mind your tone!
Relax. It wasn't intended as a personal slight against any cloud retainer. You know this, with your sterling reputation, you must have a respectable level of
Oh, is it my turn?
Yes. Please.
I'm, Mingbo. I've worked there for, 9 years, 5 months. I have 12 active cases at the moment. My current work is related to urban planning, and I'm also responsible for, auditing the accounts.
Is it just time?
You know what? Let's leave the self-introduction.
Oh,
Hello. What would you like to know? You're here to assess me, so...
Your manifesto is very wide in its scope, but you don't seem to be personally involved in many of the specific fields. How can you be sure that you have the ability to put your plan into action?
Very fair question. But I'm confident in my plan. I've visited many different places. Of course, 2 different problems can be interconnected in very complicated ways. And you might reach 2 very
How do you plan to determine whether you are right or wrong?
A great question. Well, I'd start by having my colleagues and the secretaries. If it turned out that my judgment was to blame for poor...
Nice answer.
He seems like a great guy.
Here's my take on what we just... As you saw, Qianwei is highly knowledgeable. But he is very proud, and Mingbo's plan is more thorough and more measured. But he and Qianwei are otherwise polar opposites.
Perfect summary. Paimon couldn't...
Last but not least, Zhi. His manifesto is full. The depth he goes into in each and every area means it can only be a product of painstaking work. But what really interests me is that many of his views happen to coincide with Uncle...
Great!
We'll see. All right, then let me ask this. The ideas in Zhi's manifesto...
Oh, I didn't want to say anything. Those 3 candidates have all... But Qianwei went on to focus on his business, and Mingbo has always been occupied with his...
Whoa! So how did you get to know them all, Uncle Tian?
Qianwei was referred to me by an old friend. Mingbo, we first met while fishing. Gradually, as we got to know each other, we started discussing all sorts. Zhi came from a poor family, and his parents... He reminded me of a younger version of myself. So, I started out giving him a few words of advice when we were out quiet. And now, all of a sudden, the young are growing up, and...
I don't know, Uncle Tian. You still seem in pretty good shape to me.
Oh, you. There's really no need to console me.
Sounds like you sure...
Ooh, there's nothing quite like fishing to pass the time.
Fresh fish soup.
Doesn't it? Also, when we've been fishing recently, Zhi always brings... That flavor makes for a fond memory.
Oh, can Paimon come next time too?
Let's get back to the matter at hand. Uncle Tian.
I appointed you as the assessment officer, and I trust your judgment. Had you not asked me why Juri's ideas were so similar to mine, this decision must be guided by what is fair and right. Remember.
Understood. Come on, let's go talk.
Bye-bye, Uncle Tian. So, it's gonna... His manifesto was written well.
Easy. Let's not
Huh? So...
No, nothing like that. The assessment itself is complete. The biggest no-no in intelligence work is to only get information from the person of interest themselves. For example...
Yes?
Lady Yelan, what are your
Who are they?
Did they scare you? These two are Wenyuan and Shang as my trusted assistants. They are always standing guard nearby. They also perform various assignments as Shanghua is a business expert who gets his information by trading. Wenyuan relies on word of mouth. And there's also Wu Pei, who's not here right now.
That meathead must have been out there on sea surveillance for some time now.
Nothing can take that guy down. Certainly not a little wind and waves.
Shanghua, visit all the commerce guilds and look into Qianwei's background. Wenyuan, go to the Ministry of...
Yes, ma'am.
So what about Juri?
Zhi. Well, obviously, as the most promising candidate, we will be investigating him ourselves. Let's go to the docks first. Lots of people passing through there. You can find out all kinds of things.
If we're looking for information, why don't we... He does business up the north...
That...
I'll catch up.
Look, your asking price for this batch is just— Come on, hear me out! I accidentally dropped one into a well? And even so... Alright. I'll let you in on a little secret. The boss of Second Life also wants to buy from me, but I haven't responded. If you won't take him, I'll... Okay, well, when you... Oh, what are you doing here? And to be clear, these Sunsetias are mine.
Actually, we want to ask you about a guy called Juri.
Juri? Yes, I've heard a story about him. They say he was born in... One of his neighbors was terribly rude to him all the time. He returned cruelty with kindness. Injustice with peace offerings. A gentleman of talent and...
Oh, he sounds like a decent man.
Why are you asking about him anyway? Well then, in that case, the higher bidder takes the...
Where?
It's him, all right. Looks like he's chatting with Lin Long. Come on, let's try not to let him see you. We want this information.
I'll just go and fetch an employment contract. And hey, don't try and cut me out of this.
I understand. Let's walk and talk. So, you were looking to buy a wineware set? Oh, now I can see that you're a connoisseur, so I won't bother trying to con you. I trust you understand our shop quite well?
The truth is, an old friend of mine, who likes to have a drink now and then, he fancies himself as a man of culture, but doesn't care for needless extravagance. So I thought I might buy him a set of high-quality fakes.
How very thoughtful of you. Leave it to me then. Come and collect it at Shido Antiques whenever is convenient.
Thank you very much, Miss Linlong.
It's my pleasure, Mr. Juri. These days, it's quite rare for someone of your standing to still keep up with their old friends. It's nice to see. I'll be sure to pick out a good set for you. You can count on me. Juri seems to get along really well with that. Are you satisfied now, Yolan? Seems like everyone thinks Juri.
We shouldn't jump to conclusions just yet. Let's go check out the...
Wait. You're not just trying to dig up some dirt on Juri.
Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. But hey, you'll be able to try all the finest food for...
We will? Well, come on!
The wharf is as busy as... I hear the anglers here sometimes sell their fish to the nearby fishmonger.
Welcome. What would you like to buy today?
Sorry to interrupt. We're actually members. We've heard about this young man called Juri who's supposed to be a...
Whoa! Yeon made up a whole fake identity.
Ah, yes, Juri. He's been making quite a name for himself recently. Apparently, he had a rather tough time growing up. Had to work several jobs. How does that saying go? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Yeah, we think...
But I'm afraid your Anglers Association might...
Huh? What?
He's good at a lot of things, but fishing isn't one of them. His catches are always mediocre. Not terrible, but equally not...
That sounds fantastic. I've got a couple...
Sure thing. See you.
Everywhere they go, they meet someone who's heard of him. Come on, let's keep asking around.
Here to buy some fish? It's 300. You better hurry. When they're...
Hello, we're from the...
Wow!
Society for Fish Price Research.
Please, don't worry. We've heard about a certain Juri who's been...
So this isn't about me. You should have said I haven't heard anything about him selling fresh fish at low prices.
Oh? Why?
Because he's so poor. His parents died when he was very young, and his alcoholic father, he was still a kid when he first came to the wharf. His clothes were red. He managed to survive, thanks to Uncle Tien, who gave him some... I mean, he can afford to eat and everything, but he'll often... It's not like he catches much anyway, so...
You'd rather he didn't...
Well, I spoke to him once. I think he has pretty low self-esteem. But hey, it's hard, and nobody's perfect. I just wouldn't want to upset...
I see. Well...
Not a problem. And just for the record.
The more times you say it, the less convincing.
Doesn't have a lot of...
Hey, it's you guys! Wait, what brings you to me?
The truth is, we are but newcomers to this territory. We heard tell of a great...
Really?
But of course, we also heard that Master Dugu is a...
Great! So what do you wish to know?
Now she's lying to a kid.
So, Master Dugu, have you...
Sure have. You mean that guy? I've heard many tales of probably because it's nothing that important. I prefer...
Oh, I can completely understand that.
Oh yeah, I know that. Before that, people always used to talk about Juri in a kind of nasty tone of voice. Sometimes he gives me candies, so I'm glad that people are starting...
Just as I thought.
Huh?
I mean, Just as I thought.
Oh yeah, one other thing. These days.
Oh,
Great. So next time I see them, I'll say.
Certainly. You can also tell my friend in Yanshang Tea House.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Until we meet again.
Any of that sound strange to you?
Strange? Ji seems to have a great reputation. Uncle Soon and Uncle Gab.
True. But the issue is, where did his...
Sudden?
So he returns cruelty with kindness and had to work to support his studies. These are the kinds of things that make someone well known. Do you remember what Dugu Shuo said about Zhiyi's stories? Clearly they left him with... Plus, there's the fact that all this praise of his childhood, his studies, the thing with his neighbor.
When you put it like that...
Of course, if that's all there was to it, I would... Zhiyi was born into a poor family. Paying people to get his stories out there is... The problem is, do you remember what Uncle Gao said about him? He's stayed poor his whole life. Right. And that changes everything. That's the worst case scenario. But all too often, the most...
Someone's trying to gain influence, even if we ask Ji about...
First, we need to find out who's supporting him. Remember the current affairs and planning stage of the assessment? Since the successful candidate is duty-bound to implement, whoever is secretly helping Zhiyi must be seeking to benefit from his actions after his appointment. Come on, let's... Zhiyi's manifesto covers a huge range of topics. I'll divide the reports into two piles. Officially, the assessment is already over, and I'll be expected to announce...
Yikes!
Whatever else Uncle Tian might think of Zhiyi, the fact remains that he's one... Any evidence he's left is not going to be immediately obvious.
Even though Yelan took... Well... Oh, this reading is giving...
Looks like I'm the first one back at...
Oh, hey! It's one of Yelan's little helpers! If you're back, that means you finished him...
You betcha. I visited all the commerce guilds and gathered a wealth of information. Every time...
Don't drag this out.
Yes, Lady Yelan. To summarize my findings, most people who've had interactions with Qianwei will start out complaining. The young master of the Feiyun Commerce Guild said that Qianwei appears arrogant, but he's very... Once he signs a contract with somebody, he treats them fairly, regardless.
Who'd have thought?
Is it possible that his reputation is fake? Is there any way you can check the accounts?
In theory, that should be very difficult. But here's the thing. Where he buys from and sells to should be confidential business information, but Qianwei often sees business opportunities that others don't. But once he's made an... It's like he wants people to know that they still can't beat him, even if he
What a strange guy. It's like...
To validate his theories. No wonder his manifesto contains...
I'm back! Huh?
Why do you think? Obviously, because I possess superior...
You... Ugh, whatever. I'm not getting into an argument. Lady Yelan, I have finished investigating Ming...
Well, we're...
The Ministry of Civil Affairs says that Minghua struggles to get his word, but after a few days of getting to know him, you can pretty much have a normal conversation with him. On the whole...
In your opinion, was the Ministry of Civil Affairs...
I don't believe so. Mingbo is someone who, according to Miss Yu, the ministry often gets Mingbo to take a final look at projects before they're Oh, and also, there was once someone in the ministry who was lying and cheating to try to...
Whoa.
Like I said before, things are...
Ah! So that's what you meant.
Thank you both. You're free to go now. So, have you finished? I can't see any immediate problems looking at the only one that strikes me as a little unusual is the Chengshu Pool redevelopment plan. Chengshu Pool has always been home to many secrets. Plus, at some point, a rumor began to go around that there is great treasure buried beneath Chengshu Pool. A long time ago, with the approval of the
So, did they...
None. The ruin was completely impenetrable. The technology wasn't mature enough at that time, so the excavation... Zhi-Yi's manifesto focuses on solving problems, and this treasure hunt seems extremely risky. It seems out of step with the rest of his plans. Still, this one fact alone doesn't tell us much.
Excavation? Project? Treasure? Did we read anything similar in our... Oh, yeah! Zhi-Yi said the Blackcliff Forge workers should get right of...
Did he now? Well, that makes everything much clearer. So...
Does that mean the Blackcliff Forge is Zhi-Yi's secret?
No, not likely. I've looked into the Blackcliff. They do possess some specialized explosives, but it would seem... Still, since the clues are pointing toward the Blackcliff Forge...
Shenwei and Mingbo both turned out to be completely different than what we thought. What about Zhi-Yi? Is there another...
This is the Blackcliff Forge. Let's look around for clues.
What's this?
From the back, it looks like a ledger. But it seems they all... We don't know who wrote it, but it's
You think there's this...
Yes. Look, at this rate, by the time the Chengshu Pool redevelopment plan is... That'll give them the chance to take a lot of liberties. They can... Imagine if we didn't suspect anything. By the time Zhi-Yi recommends the Blackcliff Forge for the... No red flags if all they did was change some key staff. And even if we decided to vet the staff individually, they'd have... That's the advantage of planning this far in advance.
When you put it like that, it all makes sense. If we hadn't found this... So, who's real...
That's a question for the newcomers.
Excuse us. We
I gotta say, these newcomers are in tip-top. My only complaint is that they're always... I guess they just need some time to adjust.
They go out drinking. This area...
You got that right. They tell me it rained after work today, so they actually stuck around at the site. Hey, you're only young once, right? I say.
Interesting. Let's go... Looks like our hunch was on the Mora, drinking in Liyue Harbor, huh? Some good thing it rained today. It means they'll leave footprints. I doubt they'd get...
They went that way! Hurry, we gotta catch up! These footprints are heading towards Liyue Harbor. Maybe we were wrong about them.
Just as I thought. They didn't go to Liyue Harbor. They went that way. The footprints stop, but judging from the direction, looks like we were too late. This has gotta be where the newcomers rendezvous with whoever they're working. Look at these ashes.
Could there be anything left? Maybe the wind...
The odds of that are very slim.
Why don't we wait for them back at the Black Cliff Forge?
We can't count on that. Clearly they were based here at one. To me, that says that whoever's behind this...
Darn!
Make no mistake. The purpose of our trip wasn't I smelled something peculiar. Those newcomers probably thought they'd be safe as long as they burned the letters. But what they failed to consider...
Really? Paimon can't smell anything.
There is a certain place with a freezing cold climate. Some wealthy people there put floral fragrance in their ink as a way of injecting a little romance into their writing. When that fragrant ink is burned, this is the... Exactly. The evidence will soon be blown away by the wind, but it's all I need. Now I know who we're dealing with. I can plan our next move.
Lady Yelan! Oh, thank goodness I finally found you. I thought I'd never see you.
Don't be alarmed. This is Upei. He's Wenyuan and Shanghua's colleague. I sent him to look into Zhiyi's regular contacts. Since Zhiyi likes fishing, Upei thought he might know some of the fishermen and sailors, so he took a... I left him a note at Yanshang Tea House telling him to look for me at Black Cliff Forge when he got back. If so, what did you find out at sea?
Forgive my incompetence. I asked all the fishermen multiple times, but none of them had any interactions with Zhiyi before. When I got back, I heard that you'd gone to Black Cliff Forge and might need backup, so I went straight there as fast as I could. Didn't even stop to change my clothes.
Well, Uncle Tian said that Zhiyi once bought a recipe from one of the fishermen.
What? That's new? No, that's not possible. It's absolutely not possible. Lady Yelan, I'm telling you, I spoke to every single fisherman out there, and none of them mentioned anything about a recipe.
Interesting. Then
Fish soup?
Nothing. Our priority right now is to find... Well, any suggestions? Not a bad idea. Upei, what do you think?
Honestly, I've already tried following Zhiyi, but the guy's too cautious. Never meets...
Okay, so tail it.
No, we'll still need to tail him. But first...
Groundwork?
When you've worked in intelligence for a long time, tomorrow morning I'll announce his victory at Yuehai Pavilion. Be sure to arrive on time.